In an earlier video, we looked at the concept of divided differences, and we found them to be very useful in constructing interpolating polynomials when the tabulated data is unequally spaced. We discussed the divided differences in the context of Lagrange polynomial. Now let's pay attention to a slightly easier problem where we would like to construct interpolating polynomials for tabulated data that are equally spaced. So what you see here is an example, and as you can see, the gap between successive x values is the same in this particular table. The gap is 1 between any two successive values of x. So this would represent a data set that is equally spaced. Now, the data set, the notation we will use is the sample number starts from 1 and goes till m. So here x1 is equal to 2, x2 is 3, and so on till x5 is 6. And the corresponding function values at those points are f1 is equal to 8, f2 is 27, and so on, and f5 is 216. So the data set follows this particular notation here. And the data is equally spaced. So we know that x2 is equal to x1 plus h, where h is called the step size of the discretization interval. So x2 here is 3 and x1 here is 2 and h here is 1, the gap, the step size is 1. So it makes sense, right? You can verify that. Similarly, x3, which is 4, is going to be equal to x2, which is 3, plus the step size, which is 1. So this is also true. So in general here, xi plus 1 is equal to xi plus h. So I can write x2 is equal to x1 plus h. I can write x3 is equal to x2 plus h, etc. I can also write x3 as x2 plus h, and x2 is x1 plus h. Therefore, x3 is equal to x1 plus 2h. So I can reach x3 from x1 by jumping 2 steps. That's the idea. So I can also write xi plus 1 is going to be equal to x1, the base point, plus I minus 1 times h. So these are equally valid expressions. Now, this idea of step size and discretization interval, please get used to it because we will see a lot of it in topics such as numerical differentiation, numerical integration, and solution of differential equations. This is a very simple idea. It just says what is the gap between successive values of x, as simple as that. In general, what is the gap between successive values of the independent variable? This particular video is about difference operators that are extremely handy in deriving interpolating polynomials. And there are several difference operators, some of which are listed here. We will use some of them extensively, some of them sparingly. But let us first start with the forward difference operator. The forward difference operator is denoted by this symbol triangle, and if the forward difference operator operates on fi, you're going to get fi plus 1 minus fi. So if I take this delta and apply it to, let's say, f2, which is this value, f2, I'm going to get f3 minus f2, which is going to be 64 minus 27, which is equal to 37. So delta f2 is 37. Delta f1 is going to be 27 minus 8, which is 19, and so on. So this is how the delta operator works. The backward difference operator is denoted by this inverse triangle. And the backward difference operator produces this on the right hand side. So if I apply the backward difference operator, the inverted delta on fi, I will get fi minus 1. So the backward difference operator on f3 will give us f3 minus f2, which is equal to 37 because F3 is 64 and F2 is 27. So what we see here is delta F2 is 37 and inverted delta F3 is also the same 37. So there is some relationship between the forward difference operator and the backward difference operator. But we also note the difference that the forward difference operator is applied on F2 to get 37, while the backward difference operator is applied to F3 to get 37. There is something called the central difference operator, which is denoted by the symbol small Greek delta. This is uppercase Greek delta. This is lowercase Greek delta. When you apply the central difference operator on Fi, you will have to go half a step forward. You take the function value half a step ahead, and you take a functional value half a step behind the value of Fi and find out their difference. That gives us the result of central difference operator applied to Fi. In the case of forward and backward difference operators, you either went one full step forward or you went one full step backward. Central difference operator, you go half a step forward, find the F value, you go half a step backward, find the F value, and take the difference. That will give you the result of the central difference operator on Fi. There is also something called the shift operator. If you apply the shift operator E on Fi, you're going to get Fi plus 1. So it shifts Fi forward to bring you to Fi plus 1. So if you apply E to F3, you will get F4. So delta Fi, right, the forward difference operator applied to Fi is Fi plus 1 minus Fi, and Fi plus 1, I can write it as EFI using this idea. So it's going to be EFI minus Fi. So delta Fi can be written as E minus 1 Fi. So delta is nothing but E minus 1. So you can see the relationships between these difference operators that we have introduced here. So this is what I mentioned. And you can write this as E is equal to 1 plus delta. All right, so this can be a very useful result for us. The shift operator E is nothing but 1 plus the forward difference operator delta. And this is how we derived it, as I showed in the previous slide. We can also have higher order differences. For example, delta squared Fi, that means the forward difference operator delta applied 2 times to Fi. So you can write it as delta of delta Fi. And we know delta Fi, the forward difference operator applied to Fi, is going to give us Fi plus 1 minus Fi. And you can now write this as delta Fi plus 1 minus delta Fi, right? So you apply delta to each of the terms, you get this. And we know delta Fi plus 1, the forward difference operator applied to Fi plus 1 is nothing but Fi plus 2 minus Fi plus 1. And the forward difference operator applied to Fi is going to give us Fi plus 1 minus Fi. If you expand this, you are going to get Fi plus 2 minus 2Fi plus 1 plus Fi. So minus into minus will give us plus. So this is what you get, and this is what I've written here. So the second forward difference operator applied to Fi, or in other words, the forward difference operator applied twice in sequence to Fi gives us this value. Now coming back here, we said that E is equal to 1 plus delta. So you can raise both sides to the power of alpha, where alpha is, let's say, a real number. It doesn't have to be an integer. It can be anything. So I can write e to the power of alpha by raising the left hand side to the power of alpha, and I can say that is going to be equal to the right hand side raised to the power of alpha. This is one useful relationship. And then we can write e to the power of alpha fx as f at x plus alpha h. Why is that the case? Because if you apply e to the power of alpha on, let's say, fi, I can write it as e to the power of alpha minus 1 EFI. So this is going to be e to the power of alpha minus 1. EFI is nothing but Fi plus 1. So we have moved one step forward from where we started. We started with Fi, which is f of x, and then we have moved to Fi plus 1. Now I can write this as e to the power of alpha minus 2 e Fi plus 1. And Fi plus 1 is going to be Fi plus 2. So e to the power of alpha Fi can be written as e to the power of alpha minus 2 Fi plus 2. And you will come to a point where, let's say, alpha is equal to 0. Let's pretend alpha is a positive integer. So by the time you apply this successively, you would have reached I plus alpha h, and that is what is indicated here. So e to the power of alpha f of x gives us the value of f at x plus alpha h. So e to the power of alpha applied to the function value at x will give us the function value at x plus alpha h. The backward difference operator applied to fi gives us fi minus 1. And we know that e fi minus 1 is equal to fi because this is the forward shift operator. So when you apply the shift operator to fi minus 1, you're going to get fi. Therefore, I can write fi minus 1 as e inverse fi. I can multiply both sides by e inverse, and e inverse e is identity. So left hand side will have fi minus 1 and the right hand side will be e inverse fi because I have to pre-multiply both sides by e inverse. So fi minus 1 is nothing but e inverse times fi. And therefore I can write backward difference operator applied to fi as fi minus, instead of fi minus 1, I can say e inverse fi. And then fi is common on the right hand side, and I can group 1 fi minus e to the power of minus 1 fi to get 1 minus e to the power of minus 1 times fi. Therefore, the backward difference operator is equal to 1 minus e inverse. Just like the forward difference operator was e minus 1. So we can write this expression from here. Delta would be equal to 1 minus e inverse, and we can write e inverse as 1 minus delta and e as 1 minus delta inverse. Inverting both sides, I can get this. So e is 1 plus delta. E is also 1 minus the backward difference operator inverted. So it's like 1 by 1 minus this. That is E. So E is this as well as this. Finally, let's talk about the differential operator D. This is what we have been using for a very long time. It's the derivative, right? So it's also called the differential operator. We can put a capital D to it. But basically, if you apply D to f of x, basically you're doing d by dx of f of x, which can also be written as f dash of x. Now, what you see here, this particular expression is the Taylor series expansion. So if you are at x is equal to x, where the value of the function is f of x, its first derivative is f dash of x, its second derivative is equal to f double dash x, and so on. And if you want to find out the value of the function at a distance h from your current value, that means you're trying to find out the value of the function at x plus h, you can express that as an infinite Taylor series expansion and say f of x plus h is equal to f of x plus h times f dash of x plus h squared by 2 factorial times f double dash x, etc. We have seen this in the context of the Newton method. So where we talked about f of x plus delta x, right? And then we wrote the Taylor series expansion. That's how we develop the Newton method, by truncating the right hand side to the linear term. Here, instead of delta x, we are now using the symbol h. Otherwise, everything is the same. All we need to understand is this h is nothing but what we called as delta x earlier. Now, what I can do is I can express f of x plus h as e times f of x. This basically makes use of this idea that we saw. So if you put alpha is equal to 1 in this expression, e of f of x is equal to f of x plus h. So f of x plus h is nothing but e of f of x. So that's what is written here. So this can be replaced by this. Now I can express f dash of x as d of f of x. That's what this difference operator expression tells us. F dash of x is nothing but the d operator, the differential operator applied to f of x. F double dash x is nothing but the differential operator applied twice to f of x. And the third derivative at x is nothing but the differential operator applied thrice to f of x. So using this notion, we can take the f of x out because in every symbol you will see f of x. Right here it is d times f of x. In this expression it is d squared times f of x and so on. So I can take the f of x out and then I can have 1 plus h times d. So this is actually h times d times f of x. Since I've taken the f of x outside as a common thing, so you're going to have hd. So this one is h squared by 2 factorial d squared f of x. And since I've taken f of x outside as a common thing, what you have left to be included in the brackets is h squared d squared by 2 factorial and so on. And we can readily see what is inside the square brackets is nothing but e to the power of hd, because remember e to the power of x is 1 plus x squared by 2 factorial, etc. So if you replace x by hd, you're going to get this expression that you see in the square brackets. So you're going to get e of f of x is equal to e to the power of hd f of x. And then we can say e, which is the shift operator, is nothing but e to the power of h times the differential operator. This may not appear useful to you now, but if you do a course on process control, particularly a course on digital process control, you will see the connection between e and the differential operator, this expression, particularly useful there. Now let's stop this game with these operators and put it to some use. So we are going to have this data set xi comma fi, and I goes from 1 to m. So we have these many samples and the samples are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So the true function relating x to f is f of x. We do not know what it is. So this hidden truth, we are going to approximate it by this polynomial approximation. So this Pn of x, the nth order approximation, polynomial approximation, is indeed an approximation to the truth which is often hidden from us. So whenever we are doing approximation, we are going to have an error, and we will call that as the residual error, and we will indicate that residual error term by r of x. So the reality equals our approximation plus our error. And all we need to make sure is the error is as small as it can be. Now earlier we derived this expression by noting that e is equal to 1 plus delta. We said e to the power of alpha is 1 plus delta to the power of alpha, and you apply this e to the power of alpha to f of x. So you will get e to the power of alpha f of x is equal to 1 plus delta, the forward difference operator, to the power of alpha times f of x. So this operator operates on f of x on the right hand side. This operator operates on f of x on the left hand side. And we know that e to the power of alpha f of x is nothing but f of x plus alpha h. So what does this lead to? So the left hand side, as I indicated, becomes f of x plus alpha h. And the right hand side, this is very, very important. The right hand side is 1 plus delta to the power of alpha. And that operates on f of x. So f of x is right there. So we have not done anything to f of x on the right hand side. What we have done is to expand 1 plus delta to the power of alpha and put it within these square brackets. We have shown the first four terms and we have shown the n plus 1th term, and we have put three dots to say this continues forever. Now, how do you get this expression? This comes from what is called the binomial expansion. So I would urge you to look at binomial expansion of functions. If I have time, I'll put up a short video or I will put up some notes on that. But this comes from the binomial expansion of functions. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose x1 as the reference point because that's the first data point. So I'm going to choose that as the reference point, and I'm going to say starting from that reference point, by moving alpha step sizes, I'm going to reach my point of interest, which I'm going to call as x. So if I want to reach x1 from x1, that means x is equal to x1, alpha is going to be 0. I don't have to move anywhere. So if I want to move to x2 from x1, alpha will be equal to 1 because we know x2 is equal to x1 plus 1 times h. So alpha is equal to 0 keeps me at x1. Alpha is equal to 1 makes me move to x2 from x1. So x1 is the base always, or the reference point. And alpha is equal to 2 will take me to x3 and so on. If I choose a value of alpha is equal to 0.5, it will take me to the midpoint between x1 and x2. So if alpha is equal to 1.75, it will take me to a point between x2 and x3, which is 3/4 away from x2 and 1/4 from x3, and so on. All right, so this alpha can be integer, it can be a fraction, etc. Instead of x, I'm going to put x1. So on the left hand side also I have to put x is equal to x1. And internally what we have is exactly the same. I have not done anything to it except I have truncated after m terms. See, this is delta to the power of m minus 1. This term is delta to the power of 0, which is 1. This is delta to the power of 1. So this is delta to the power of 2, this is delta to the power of 3, etc. So when I come to this term delta to the power of m minus 1, starting from delta to the power of 0, I have m terms inside the square brackets. And why do I look at only m terms? Because we have m data points. And because we have stopped somewhere, there is going to be a residual error, which is indicated by r of x. And you can see now x is gone. Everything is based on x1, which is the reference point. And if I want to go to other x values, I have to specify a value of alpha. As I said before, if alpha is equal to 1, I'm going to be at x2. If alpha is equal to 2, I'm going to be at x3 and so on. So alpha becomes the new independent variable. I can change alpha and reach a certain value of x. One more thing is that we have a polynomial in powers of alpha now, because this is alpha to the power of 0. You can take it like that. This is alpha to the power of 1. This one will give us alpha squared minus alpha. All right, but all we are trying to say here is this term contributes alpha to the power of 2. This term would contribute alpha to the power of 3. This term would contribute alpha to the power of m minus 1. So this is now a polynomial in alpha. So it is fair to say that now we have a polynomial inside the square brackets, which is in powers of alpha, and the polynomial is of degree m minus 1. As I just remarked, the last term will have alpha to the power of m minus 1. So this is okay as well. And as already remarked, I can choose alpha to be 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or m minus 1 and any non-integer real values to go from x1 to xm. So as I said earlier, if alpha is 0, I am at x1. If alpha is 2, I am at x3. And if alpha is 1.5, I'm between x2 and x3, etc. So far, we have focused a lot on alpha, which is fine. But you also note that this expression contains delta of f of x1. So how are we going to get this? It also contains delta squared f of x1, the second forward difference of f of x1. And so on. We also have delta to the power of m minus 1 f of x1. How do we get these values? We will construct a difference table, very much like the divided difference table we constructed for the Lagrange polynomial. So this one is the m minus 1th order polynomial in alpha. So this is the functional approximation, the one that I have circled in green. That would be the functional approximation. So we can denote this by Pm minus 1 at x1 plus alpha h. And if you add the residual to it, you're going to get the true value of the function at x1 plus alpha h. So this one that I have circled in green will give us the approximate value of the function at x1 plus alpha h. So I hope this makes sense to us. And we are going to say that the residual r of x will have a magnitude of the order of h to the power of m. This means order of. It won't give us the correct value, but we can say that r of x under this approximation, r of x will be of the size or of the order of h to the power of m, where h is the step size and m is the number of data points that we have. So that is the truncation error. So this expression is called the Newton's forward difference polynomial. It is forward difference polynomial because we are using the forward difference operator. It's a polynomial for the obvious reason. And whenever there is a bit of calculus, etc. involved, somehow Newton's name gets attached to that. So we will stop here with just a mention of this thing called the forward difference polynomial and the difference table, and we will make progress in our next video. Thank you for your time.